Divulgues que un día fui tu amor, y si recuerdos quedan entre los tuyos será el mejor. Te ruego que no divulgues que un día fui tu amor, y si recuerdos quedan entre los tuyos será el mejor.
Today's story, The Dreadful Mucama, or Housemaids in Spanish, is by the acclaimed and much praised American writer Lydia Davis, a Man Booker International Prize winner in 2013. It's from her 2014 book, Can't and Won't. 289 pages of jottings, observations, trivia, not so trivia, thoughts, dreams, nothing in particular, the kind of stuff that daily life is all about. Some items are just one sentence, while others, like today's choice, are much more. Can't and Won't absorbs you from page one and keeps you wondering what's on the next page. In short, it's impossible to put down. In the dreadful housemaid story today, you feel that you're standing beside the unfortunate mistress of the house, facing off her recalcitrant, shrieking Bolivian housemaids. I'm your reader, Kim Dodsworth. They are, both of them, mother and daughter, very rigid, stubborn women from Bolivia. They resist and sabotage whenever possible. They came with the apartment which we're subletting. They were bargains because of Adela's low IQ. She is a scatterbrain. In the beginning, I said to them, I'm very happy that you can stay, and I'm sure that we will get along very well. This is an example of the problems we're having. It's a typical incident that has just taken place. I needed to cut a piece of thread and couldn't find my 6-inch scissors. I accosted Adela and told her I couldn't find my scissors. She protested that she hadn't seen them. I went with her to the kitchen and asked Louisa if she would cut my thread. She asked me why I didn't simply bite it off. I said I couldn't thread my needle if I bit it off. I asked her, please, to get some scissors and cut it off now. She told Adela to look for the scissors of La Signora Brodie, and I followed her to the study to see where they were kept. She removed them from a box. At the same time, I saw a long, untidy piece of twine attached to the box and asked her why she didn't trim off the frayed end of it while she had the scissors. She shouted that it was impossible. The twine might be needed to tie up the box sometime. I admit that I laughed. Then I took the scissors from her and cut it off myself. Adela shrieked. Her mother appeared behind her. I laughed again, and now they both shrieked. Then they were quiet. I've told them, please do not make the toast until we ask for breakfast. We don't like very crisp toast the way the English do. I've told them, every morning when I ring the bell, please bring us our mineral water immediately. Afterwards, make the toast, and at the same time prepare fresh coffee with milk. We prefer Franja Blanca or Gentazel coffee from Bonafide. I spoke pleasantly to Louisa when she came with the mineral water before breakfast, but when I reminded her about the toast, she broke into a tirade. How could I think she would ever let the toast get cold or hard? But it's almost always cold and hard. We've told them, we prefer that you always buy Las Tres Nina or German milk from Kasdorf. Adela cannot speak without yelling. I have asked her to speak gently and to say senora, but she never does. They also speak very loudly to each other in the kitchen. Often, before I have said 3 words to Adela, she yells at me, see, and leaves the room. I honestly don't think I can stand it. I say to Louisa, Don't interrupt me. I say, no me interrompe. The problem is not that Adela doesn't work hard enough, but she comes to my room with a message from her mother. She tells me the meal I have asked for is impossible, and she shakes her finger back and forth, screaming at the top of her voice. They are both, mother and daughter, such willful, brutal women. At times I think they are complete barbarians. I have told Adela, if necessary, clean the hall, but don't use the vacuum cleaner more than twice a week. Last week she refused point blank to take the vacuum cleaner out of the front hall by the entrance, just when we were expecting a visit from the rector of Patagonia. They have such a sense of privilege and ownership. I've asked them, first listen to what I have to say. I took my underthings out to them to be washed. Louisa immediately said it was too hard to wash a girdle by hand. I disagreed, but I didn't argue. Adela refuses to do any work in the morning but house cleaning. I say to them, we are a small family. We don't have any children. When I go to them to inquire about the tasks I've given them, I find they are usually engaged in their own occupations, washing their sweaters or telephoning. The ironing is never done on time. Today I reminded them both that my underthings needed to be washed. They didn't respond. Finally I had to wash my slip myself. I say to them, we've noticed that you have tried to improve, and in particular that you're doing our washing more quickly now. I have asked Adela, please do not leave the dirt and the cleaning things in the hall. I've asked her, please collect the trash and take it to the incinerator immediately. Today I told Adela that I needed her there in the kitchen, but she went to her mother's room and came back with her sweater on and went out anyway. She was buying some lettuce. For them, it turned out, not for us. At each meal, she makes an effort to escape. As I was passing through the dining room this morning, I tried as usual to chat pleasantly with Adela. Before I could say 2 words, however, she retorted sharply that she couldn't do anything else while she was setting the table. Adela rushes out of the kitchen into the living room even when guests are present and shouts, "Telephone for you in your room." Although I have asked her to speak gently, she never does. Today she came rushing out of the kitchen into the dining room saying, "Telephone for you," and pointed at me. Later she did the same with our luncheon guest, a professor. I say to Louisa, I would like to discuss the program for the days to come. Today I don't need more than a sandwich at noon and fruit, but El Señor would like a nutritious tea. Tomorrow we'd like a rather nourishing tea with hard-boiled eggs and sardines at 6, and we won't want any other meal at home. At least once a day we want to eat cooked vegetables. We like salads, but we also like cooked vegetables. Sometimes we could eat both salad and cooked vegetables at the same meal. We don't have to eat meat at lunchtime except on special occasions. We're very fond of omelettes, perhaps with cheese or tomato. Please serve our baked potatoes immediately after taking them from the oven. We had had nothing but fruit at the end of the meal for 2 weeks. I asked Louisa for a dessert. She brought me some little crepes filled with apple sauce. They were nice, though quite cold. Today she gave us fruit again. I said to her, "Louisa, you cannot refer to my instructions as capricious and illogical." Louisa is emotional and primitive. Her moods change rapidly. She readily feels insulted and can be violent. She has such pride. Adela is simply wild and rough, a harebrained savage.
Vulgues que un día fui tu amor y si recuerdos quedan entre los tuyos será el mejor. Te ruego que no divulgues que un día fui tu amor.
I say to Louisa, our guest, Senor Flanders, has never visited the park. He'd like to spend several hours there. Can you make sandwiches of cold meat for him to take with him? It's his last Sunday here. For once, she doesn't protest. When setting the dining table, Adela puts each thing down with a bang. I say to Louisa, please, I would like Adela to polish the candlesticks. We're going to have them on the table at night. I ring the bell at the dining table, and a loud crash follows instantly in the kitchen. I've told them there should not be these kitchen noises during our cocktail and dinner hour, but they're hitting each other again and yelling. If we ask for something during a meal, Adela comes out of the kitchen and says, "There isn't any." It's also very nerve-wracking. I often feel worn out just after one attempt to speak to her. Louisa, I say, I want to make sure we understand each other. You cannot play the radio in the kitchen during our dinner time. There's also a lot of shouting in the kitchen. We're asking for some peace in the house. We do not believe that they are sincerely trying to please us.
Vulgues que un día fui tu amor y si recuerdos quedan entre los tuyos será el mejor. Te ruego que no divulgues.
Adela sometimes takes the bell off the kitchen table and doesn't put it back on. Then I can't ring for her during the meal, but have to call loudly from the dining room to the kitchen, or go without what I need, or get the bell myself so that I can ring it. My question is, does she leave the bell off the table on purpose? I instruct them ahead of time. For the party, we will need tomato juice, orange juice, and Coca-Cola. I tell her, Adela, you will be the one in charge of answering the door and taking the coats. You'll show the ladies where the toilet is if they ask you. I ask Louisa, do you know how to prepare empanadas in the Bolivian style? We would like them both to wear uniforms all the time. I say to Adela, please, I would like you to pass among the guests frequently with plates of hors d'oeuvres that have been recently prepared. When the plates no longer look attractive, please take them back out to the kitchen and prepare fresh ones. I say to her, please, Adela, I would like there always to be clean glasses on the table and also ice and soda. I've told her, always leave a towel on the rack above the bidet. I say to her, are there enough vases? Can you show them to me? I would like to buy some flowers. Here are some more of the details of the silent warfare. I see that Adela has left a long string lying on the floor next to the bed. She's gone away with the wastebasket. I don't know if she's testing me. Does she think I am too meek or ignorant to require her to pick it up? But she has a cold, and she isn't very bright. And if she really didn't notice the string, I don't want to make too much of it. I finally decide to pick up the string myself. We suffer from their rude and ruthless vengeance.
No divulgues que un día fui tu amor y si recuerdos quedan entre los tuyos será el mejor. Te ruego que no divulgues que un día fui tu amor y si recuerdos quedan entre los tuyos será el mejor.
A button was missing from my husband's shirt collar. I took the shirt to Adela. She shook her finger and said no. She said that La Senora Brodie always took everything to the dressmaker to be mended. Even a button? I asked. Were there no buttons in the house? She said there were no buttons in the house. I told Louisa they could go out on Sundays even before breakfast. She yelled at me that they didn't want to go out and asked me, where would they go? I said they were welcome to go out, but if they did not go out, we would expect them to serve us something, even if it was something simple. She said she would, in the morning, but not in the afternoon. She said that her two older daughters always came to see her on Sundays. I spent the morning writing Louisa a long letter, but I decided not to give it to her. In the letter I told her, I have employed many maids in my life. I told her that I believe I am a considerate, generous, and fair employer. I told her that when she accepts the realities of the situation, I'm sure everything will go well. If only they would make a real change in their attitude, we'd like to help them. We'd pay to have Adela's teeth repaired, for instance. She is so ashamed of her teeth. But up to now, there has been no real change in their attitude. We also think that they may have relatives living secretly with them behind the kitchen. I'm learning and practicing a sentence that I will try on Louisa, though it may sound more hopeful than I feel. Con el correr del tiempo, todo se solucionará. But they give us such dark Indian looks. That was just a small sample of the wonderful work of American writer Lydia Davis. It was from her book Can't and Won't. If you'd like to hear more of her brilliant observations of the human condition, call the station 4RPH. The number 07 3831 1296. 07 3831 1296. Till we meet again, this is Kim Dodsworth signing off.